What's so freaky about a Playgirl magazine? Is Danny a secret time traveler? And what's the deal with that freaky photograph?
Little pigs, let me come in.
Remember Tony?
Tony's a little boy who was my mom.
The Shining reveals that Tony is Danny's imaginary friend. He's also the part of Danny that guides him through the horrific moments. However, there is more to Tony than the movie lets on. He's actually Danny's future self and the person who's responsible for his visions. In short, older Danny uses his Shining abilities to send disturbing visuals to his childhood self. Of course, neither Stanley Kubrick's film nor Dr. Sleep mentions that Tony is really Danny from the future, but it is confirmed in Stephen King's Shining novel and the 1990s miniseries. Kubrick changed some aspects of the source material, but he didn't make a point to explain the Tony stuff, so we can only assume that he chose to keep this part of the story in, albeit under the surface and open to interpretation. Between the creepy ghost girls, old naked ladies, and blood tsunamis, The Shining isn't without its fair share of nightmare-inducing visuals. However, some of the scariest elements ain't so easy to spot right away. Take the scene in which Jack is seen reading a copy of Playgirl magazine, for example. Anyone who's familiar with the magazine knows that its readership is made up of women and gay men. Jack ain't exactly the demographic. So why is this scene so significant? Brace yourself, it's about to get messed up. In that specific edition of Playgirl, there's an article called Incest: Why Do Parents Sleep with Their Children? Jack has a history of being a bad dude at times, especially when he's been drinking, and this scene implies that he was secretly abusing his son, Danny. That scene isn't the only moment that hints towards this idea either. Do you remember the man in the bear costume? This furry fella just seems like a horn dog at first glance, but there's more to the bear imagery than meets the eye in The Shining. Check out Danny's pillow in this scene.
Do you remember when you were brushing your teeth?
Yes.
Basically, bears are associated with sex in the movie, and by having Danny's pillow feature the animal too, there's more credence to the theory that his father has been acting inappropriately. This theory could also explain what really went down in room 237. You know, the room with the scary naked bath lady? Ugh. The film scholar Rob Ager posited an interesting idea about the location. According to Rob, this was the room in which Jack abused his son, and the monster lady is Danny's way of externalizing the pain. Now I know what you're thinking. Jack also bumped into her. That's true. And the horrific encounter symbolizes Jack coming to terms with his guilt. The connections don't end there. Danny initially goes into the room so he can collect his ball. The very same ball that his dad was bouncing off the wall in another scene. There's a lot of subliminal messaging on display that's honestly far too horrifying to think about.
I love you, Danny. I love you more than anything else.
Disturbing family secrets might not be the only connection Jack has to his son. Fans have long wondered if Jack also has Danny's Shining abilities. I mean, it's a valid question. Like Danny, he has visions of the supernatural throughout the movie. Some of those visions even come true.
I dreamed that I killed you and Danny. But I didn't just kill you. Cut you up into little pieces.
It appears that Jack's dream was a shine, warning him about the atrocities he was going to try and commit down the line. But there's more. Earlier in the movie, Halloran tells Danny that both he and his grandma had the gift too. This revelation suggests that shining is a hereditary ability, so it's likely that Danny inherited it from his old man and learned how to control it. Jack, on the other hand, he wasn't truly aware of it.
There are other folks, though mostly they don't know it or don't believe it.
And that's why he turned into an axe-wielding lunatic. You see, not being able to control his ability makes Jack more susceptible to being manipulated by evil forces. Sensing his weak will, the Overlook's ghostly inhabitants lured him to the hotel and turned him into a not-so-dull boy. Jack's shining ability is also hinted at during his space-out moments. Check out this scene. Notice that Jack's expression is very similar to Danny's when the young lad is in shine mode?
Maybe it was about Danny.
If that ain't proof that Jack is a shiner, then I don't know what is. It's well known that Kubrick's vision for The Shining didn't exactly align with King's version of the story. So what possessed Kubrick to make this adaptation in the first place? To apologize for staging the moon landing? Duh. We all know that Kubrick was secretly hired by the US government to fake the 1969 moon landing. NASA and the politicians saw how awesome 2001: A Space Odyssey looked and knew that the director could fool the world into believing that astronauts actually stepped foot on the moon. Kubrick couldn't admit that to the public, though, so The Shining was his way of telling us about his NASA exploits. Okay, so maybe this theory isn't exactly true, but let's just humor it for a second. The Shining is littered with coded references to NASA and the moon. For example, Danny has an Apollo 11 jumper, and Room 237 is also a reference to Earth's distance from the moon, which is 237,000 miles, in case you were wondering. But here's the big giveaway.
Does it matter to you at all that the owners have placed their complete confidence and trust in me and that I have signed a letter of agreement, a contract?
Was that Kubrick's way of telling the audience that he and his wife argued over his NASA duties? Proponents of this theory think that it was, but ponder this idea instead. Perhaps the NASA references in the movie were Kubrick's way of poking fun at the conspiracy theories. What a big prankster that Kubrick was. And some people have the nerve to say that The Shining isn't a funny movie. I'll tell you one thing that isn't funny though. Ghost twins. Ugh, I get the willies just thinking about the Grady girls in this movie. However, if you can look past their icy cold stares for a second, you might have spotted a poster on the wall behind them. At first glance, it's just a poster and easy to overlook. Get it? That said, there's more to this image than you think. Notice how it says Monarch on it. It's just a word, right? Not quite. This is the rumored codename for the CIA's Project MKUltra program. What's that, you ask? Get ready for a history lesson. MKUltra was an illegal experiment that saw CIA scientists use LSD, hypnosis, electroshocks, and other questionable methods to control their subjects' minds and behavior. Considering that The Shining is also about secret forces controlling an unfortunate soul into doing their bidding, this reference is quite fitting. But enough of that gruesome content. Let's examine The Shining's more inspirational qualities instead. Have you ever watched Pixar movies and wondered why they contain so many Shining Easter eggs? Like this scene in Toy Story. It seems that Sid's family modeled their decor after the Overlook Hotel's wonky floor. The Toy Story franchise isn't the only Pixar film to take cues from Kubrick's Nightmare Odyssey either. Check out this scene from Finding Nemo and let us know if it looks familiar.
Here's Brucey!
I wish we could end this video on a happy note. Unfortunately, you can't talk about The Shining without addressing that disturbing ending. Look at Jack, smiling like a yearbook picture, surrounded by other guests who never checked out of the Overlook. It also turns out that the photo in question was taken at the 1921 July 4th ball. The Shining's time frame isn't revealed, but we know that it doesn't take place in the roaring 20s. So why is Jack in a photo that was taken in 1921? It's simple, really. When he succumbed to the hotel's evil powers and gave in to his inner monster, he became a part of the Overlook's violent history. The haunted hotel claimed his soul, and now his soul is stuck there forever. Hopefully that gives him plenty of time to think about how misbehaved he was. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more of our unanswered question videos. Thanks for staying awesome with us.